Are we recording? We're not recording. Okay, so I'd like to call into session the October 15th, 2025 school board meeting of the South Burlington School District. The first item on the agenda is a projected executive session to discuss employment of a public officer and to receive confidential attorney-client communications for the purpose of providing legal services to the board. I would entertain a motion that premature general knowledge would clearly place the school district at a substantial disadvantage with regard to our confidential attorney-client communications.
I'll motion.
Jen motions, Dan seconds, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
I would entertain a motion to entertain, I would entertain a motion to enter executive session for the purpose of discussing employment of a public officer and to receive confidential attorney-client communications to provide legal services to the board.
Yes, motion.
Jen motions,
I'll second.
Laura seconds, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
We're in executive session. Oh, and the people in executive session is gonna be the board, plus Joe Clark, our superintendent, Joe McNeil, district council, McLetty, district council, and Bill Sorrell, independent, investigator. Thanks. Call back to order the October 15th, 2025 school board meeting of the South Burlington School District. The first item on the agenda is announcements. Do we have any announcements? All right, the next item is to review and accept the agenda. This is a slightly different agenda format than we've used in the past. Before, we had a single combined item that was called amendments to the agenda. So in this case, I think we'll just ask people to look over the agenda, board members, and if there's anything that we want to amend, we should do it now. Any amendments to the agenda? All right, so we'll take no action on that. The next item on the agenda is comments from the public. There are two opportunities for the public to comment right now about anything. And also, before we take action on an action item, but only comment about the topic that is being actioned. The board will not respond to public comments unless this meeting is a specially designated community forum and the topic is warned on the community forum agenda. To clarify, this is not a community forum. You'll be given up to 3 minutes. And that may be reduced if there are a ton of people wishing to comment. We ask that you don't violate anybody's privacy, and official complaints or grievances cannot be filed during public comment. So are there any comments from the public? Comment? Great. Our next agenda item is focus on student learning, the student representative report. So I'll turn it over to Moment.
Thank you, Seamus. So on Wednesday, we had a testing day at the high school. So students facing the SAT, PSAT, and STAR testings. And we want to say good luck to all the juniors and seniors waiting for their scores back. And next Friday, Allie and I, as well as a few other high schoolers, are attending the annual business roundtable meeting. So it's an opportunity for students to make connections with business people in the community and hear a keynote speaker who I believe is some journalist for the Atlantic. And want to give a big thank you to Mr. Craig for setting this up for us. And On Saturday, the boys and girls cross-country teams will be hosting this year's annual Cannon 5K walk in honor of beloved South Burlington High School science teacher George Cannon, and we hope to see a lot of the community there. Similarly, students at Chamberlain were encouraged to find a walk or bike to school to celebrate National Walk or Roll to School Day last Wednesday. And on October 23rd and 24th, all SB schools will not be in session because of parent-teacher conferences. All the families, sign-up links should be sent to your emails, and all students are encouraged to accompany their parents to the conferences. And lastly, the South Burlington Parks and Recreation is working really hard to set up programs for elementary school students. So all the families, please check the websites to see all the fun activities that are coming up. Yeah, that's it.
Thank you. Board members, any questions for Holman?
I don't have any questions, but I do have a comment. So on, I think it was Monday, I had a chance to attend the South Burlington High School Student Council meeting
Right.
with Dr. Clark, and he was there collecting feedback. And one of the big things that came up were there were a lot of students that were there that were really interested in getting more engaged with the school board.
Right.
And they were suggesting that, you know, perhaps you and Ally might either participate in one of their meetings or how they can improve the exchange between what's happening at the school and what's happening with you. So I just wanted to share that feedback if you haven't heard it yet.
So me and Ally, we met with Principal Burke today.
Okay,
We meet with him every week and we discuss this as well. And if we have time, I could talk about a little bit what we talked about. So first of all, there was a bit of we were trying to keep completely separate, but a little bit, it's slightly intentional that there is some distinction.
mhm,
And I'm not trying to say that anyone in the student council doesn't deserve to be there, but what we were thinking that at some points along the way, student council become a popularity contest. And so while they definitely have some good ideas, we also wanted to not only find a way to listen to them more, but listen to the student body as a whole. So it's not just these few people who have a lot of friends
right,
and then the smaller voices get canceled out. With that being said, we are planning to work with them to find a unique way and creative way to reach the whole student body that's more than just a survey. So over the next few weeks, me and Ally will be working with student council to try and find a way, whether like advisory, where first we'll send out what our preliminary ideas was that me and Ally thought about today is we may send out a survey to the student body and whatever we see are the most pressing issues, we'll find a way that the advisors can facilitate discussions with their students in advisory. And that way it's more of a, if for two of you who were at my interview, I said a lot that the surveys are really easy to ignore. You know, half the time I ignore surveys in my email. But if students in advisory who they have to be there and this face-to-face connections, I think we get a lot more ideas of what they want to see. So we'll first do a survey to figure out the most pressing issues, and then we'll talk to them, ideally the whole student body, to figure out exactly what they want to see. And that will be in conjunction with the student council. And we hope to do this on a more regular basis, not one-off thing. So maybe we were thinking maybe once a semester we'll meet with them and, you know, have it as like a longer lasting thing.
great.
It's so refreshing that you can't just send it out on social media,
Yeah.
because we're not allowed to do
Yeah.
that anymore. That's right. And I just had one other question. How does it feel to have a cell phone ban?
It's not as bad as expected, honestly. People were really nervous going into it, but now I don't really notice it. Besides like checking my schedule, which doesn't really affect me anymore, or like checking the time. There's definitely been times where I've been like walking the hallways and I pull my phone out and check the time. Like, oh wait, I can't do that. But it's not been a big deal. It's definitely been helpful. I think if you talk to any teacher or student in the school, they'll say it's been better connections and people are kind of more present. And it's definitely been easier in the classroom as well, that all teachers have the precedent that if you see your phone, it's gone, and they don't really get back from it, many students. No one's like, oh, this teacher lets me, this teacher doesn't. It's pretty standard across the whole school, which I think also makes it easier for teachers to do. Yeah.
Any other questions from the board? Thank you very much. The next item, on the agenda, oh, that's interesting. The interim superintendent report is after action items and discussion items. So, Bill, sorry about that. We're gonna be late.
I'll be here.
Should we move it?
Sure, if you want.
Okay, let's, so the board is okay with moving the superintendent's report up to right now.
Fantastic, thank you so much. Actually, really the only things that was gonna talk about, since we've had a couple board meetings last couple of weeks, is the 3Q update. We continue to have the 3Q meetings, and this week I had two, first time.
Can
I
you
got-
clarify what the 3Q update
I'm
is
sorry,
again?
yes, the 3 questions. So these are I'm going to a variety of community groups and asking 3 questions. What do you like about South Burlington Schools? What can we do better? What do you expect of the superintendent? And I've been to 7 or 8 meetings so far, but many more planned. And this week, had the opportunity to visit with student groups for the first time. I was with the high school student council on Monday, and I was with the Tuttle peer leadership group yesterday. And they gave a ton of great feedback, and I could not be more impressed with how thoughtful the feedback was. I've done this sort of activity everywhere I've been a superintendent, and it was not necessarily always uncommon to get things like, we want better lunches, or we want more recess, or whatever. And- More snow days. The thoughtfulness of the comments that I heard from students at both places was really uplifting to me. They were very concerned about equity of their classmates, about the things that you would hope that they would be excited about. And Jen was able to sit in on the meeting on Monday, so I don't know if you want to give any feedback about how you thought it went, but.
Oh, I thought it was great. I mean, I was really impressed with, everything that they talked about in regards to, access, people with disabilities being able to access the facilities at the school, like the gymnasium, I thought. The feedback regarding the condition of the bathrooms and people having to like hold the doors closed with their feet because they don't have sufficient locks on the doors, and that's not acceptable. All the way through, just comments regarding, grading and how grading can be somewhat inconsistent depending upon who they're working with. So I mean, obviously there's, curriculum issues that are coming up but you can tell that people really thought through the topics that they brought up. So I thought it was very good.
Yeah, very, very thoughtful, I thought too, so I thank you for being there. And again, I did share with the board the upcoming 3 questions meetings, so if you're certainly welcome to come to any that you would like to come to, as long as, of course, there's not a quorum there. And I will continue to add those as we schedule more, but I think we're getting good feedback, and what I've been telling all these folks is that we'll use this feedback as at least a big qualitative portion of our of what will be a strategic plan. I hope that we'll work together with that. It would be Joe making a strategic plan. It's a community effort led by the board and I and stakeholders. So I think it's pretty exciting.
All right. Are there any questions from the board to the superintendent?
Really enjoyed it. And you said you're keeping tabs on everything, and then once you have more information, you're going to update what we have online. So
Yeah,
that the board can see what the feedback is.
Yeah, thanks for asking that. So I have a note taker at each meeting so I can engage with the folks instead of being worried about taking the notes. They take the notes, they send them to me. And once I have a critical mass of notes, I'll start to analyze the data with the help of AI, quite frankly, and I will start sharing that with the board. But I don't want to get too far out in front of it. I want to get a few more meetings done before I start doing that.
And you're calling because I know you've got your schedule that's out there and,
Mhm.
for people to sign up if they'd like to attend. Now, are the student reps, are they able to see that also? If there's any that you would like to participate in, any of those community sessions? So,
Where's the calendar of the events that you're going
Yeah.
to?
So that's a Google sheet that I shared with the board.
Do
okay,
you feel that that should be a public document? Or, I mean, it is a public document, but I mean, is it
No,
something that
it
we
should
should
not.
publicize?
No, I do not believe that this should be something that's an open call to community members, because I'm going to specific groups, of like, PTAs
Yeah.
and boosters and minister groups. There will be, everybody in the community will have the opportunity to give me feedback if they're not in any of those groups, and that'll be closer, to the end of the program, when I will send out a blanket survey to anybody that did not get an opportunity to participate, and we'll make sure we publicize that, so people will be able to give feedback if they don't happen to be in any of those groups.
yeah, no, I was asking specifically, like, I don't know if our student reps had access to the calendar.
They did not.
Okay, so and if there was an opportunity, if that would be something suitable that, you know, that they could participate in that, because I know we have the chance to attend, so I just wanted to put it out there as an awesome.
Maybe you
something to
could,
consider.
I think Emily is our designated student rep coordinator, so
Yes.
maybe.
You can find out if there's interest or if when they are, it might be like during school, if, you know. hold up.
Yeah, some are early, some are late, some are during the school day, and, but, I don't mind having some folks there, but again, I just want to respect
Mhm.
Right,
I just want to respect the group that I'm with, because
Yeah.
they might have specific concerns about specific things that they might feel uncomfortable sharing if there are certain folks there.
okay,
And it's kind of you're asking to be a part of it, so you don't wanna necessarily bring home a
Right,
crew with you. Yeah.
right.
okay,
So
that's good.
that's my report. If there's any other questions?
I have a question for both of you. Was there any like major things that you saw across the board, either the high school or the middle school, besides just the student council wanting to interact with us more?
I wasn't at the middle school,
No.
but
No, I think I think everything's major.
Right.
I think that the concerns of high school facilities was very, very clear to me. Concerns about access to like the gymnasium. There was a fire drill or maybe even a fire alarm, and we had a student in a wheelchair who was not able to exit the gym because it's on the second floor and you can't use elevators during that time. So those are real issues. A lot of talk in both groups about equity for the students that are less advantaged than they are. Talk about, for instance, at the middle school, students are not taking their Chromebooks home anymore, and students brought up, well, that's not an impact for us because we have technology at home, but there are some students who do not have access to that, so they expressed a lot of those concerns. What I promise every group that I meet is I'm not solving problems today, so I want to gather it so we can put it in a format where we can determine what our priorities are gonna be. But and they're very, very thoughtful. And I have not said this at any meeting yet, but I'll tell you, maybe I should start saying, I won't solve any problems today unless there is something that is causing somebody imminent harm, danger. I will act on this, right? I'm not gonna ignore something. But basically it's getting feedback and we'll find out, what people's priorities are by the responses.
Great.
I appreciate you doing all that. It's a really big lift, but I think it's really important to do.
I enjoy it.
Mhm.
All right, the next set of items on our agenda are action items. There's 4 of them. For public comment purposes, how do we, that's fairly new, that we're kind of talking about. Board, do people want to hear public comment before or after our discussion of the topic? Does anybody have any strong preferences? I tend to think we should hear it before.
The tradition is after so when you move, second, any discussion, board discussion, public discussion.
Okay, I'm great with that. All right, so the first item on the agenda for the action item is the superintendent search. So, this year, when we were faced with the need for a superintendent, we took a three-part approach. A short term, a medium term, and a long term. The short term approach was to put the succession plan into action. And that was in effect for about a month. Now we're on the medium term part of the plan, which is an interim superintendent. And so Superintendent Clark has been so good as to join us. And then we're also we have an eye for the long term, a permanent superintendent search. Because my understanding is that the board wanted to be sure that we had given ourselves the time to do due diligence for hiring a superintendent, which is one of our most important duties. So this action item is to talk about the permanent superintendent search. And the specific idea right now, I believe, is that we would hire the Vermont School Board Association again to run the permanent superintendent search. They were the ones who ran the interim superintendent search that selected Superintendent Clark. So I'll open that up for the board to.
And we received a contract this week. I don't know
Right here.
if Laura has it.
Yep, it's, we will be working with Elaine, with me again, with me, and, the fee would be, $12,000. And the search will be much more, comprehensive, because we were on a tight timeline, we're not as tight this time, so that would all be worked out. I would advocate strongly for this, since we have the relationship with them, and I don't know if anybody has any questions. It's fairly standard contract, $6,000 in advance, and then the other half at the end. And the price is right, and I think it's quality. that I'm really looking forward to it.
One additional consideration is that it would be respectful to Superintendent Clark to have a sense of his status as soon as possible. You know, sometime in, mid-December, just have a sense because I believe, I don't want to speak for you, but I believe you have said that you're gonna run for the permanent superintendent spot. So.
I am, I've told you at my interview, I would love to be here, long-term, and right now, I'm getting emails from. Places around the country saying we have a position open, there's one open that's due tomorrow, and I talked to my wife about it, and she said, no, don't apply for it, be patient. But quite frankly, there's going to be a point in time where I need to. Make a decision on what I'm gonna do. I would love to be part of this district, but you've only known me for a month. I might be snowing you so bad. I'm not, it's inevitable, but you absolutely owe it to the public to do due diligence and to do a search. And if I don't come out on top, I wish you all the best. I love working here, and if I do, I'll keep doing the things I'm doing.
I guess one question I have is, what is our timing? Do we have a schedule for that? I mean, I know Dr. Clark's contract goes through September 11th of next
I
year,
think
but
that's something that we would work out with.
Okay.
I thought about that too. I don't think that we can solve tonight, but I don't think it's gonna be fast, but not like that.
I think we should
Not
be
the mania. But we wanna start.
start as soon as possible and have
a goal.
a goal, I
Yes.
think of, I think December 1st to have, final candidates would be a good goal for us to shoot for.
Yeah, okay.
that's
I
a-
totally agree. Yeah. I think that's a good timeline because I really appreciate, our consideration of Dr. Clark in this case too, but when we think about the candidate pool, there are many superintendents that are in the same position as Dr. Clark. And so we really, if we operate on that timeline, we kind of maximize the opportunity for folks to consider us and for us to consider them. And then if we are able to make a decision by sometime in January, that gives all due lead time for all superintendents, right, in the search process to be able to notify their current and to make progress towards accepting their positions. And so I think that's a really good timeline.
So the action item for tonight, there was just whether or not we want
Yeah.
to accept the contract.
Yes.
Everything else is gonna have to be worked out.
So I would entertain a motion to approve the contract and authorize me to sign the contract with the Vermont School Board Association to conduct a permanent superintendent search.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Okay, so now we have discussion, and at this point, I'd like to open the floor for public discussion.
May I ask one
You-
question first?
Yes, we're in the discussion section, so you can ask questions, you can talk about it, but also the
Yeah.
public can.
Yeah, so I recall from the interim superintendent search that there was a specified limitation about the reach of the search. I just want to verify that that is no longer the case. I understand that, you know, the places we post can be viewed nationally, but there was a specific limitation in that interim search conversation. I don't know about the contract because I didn't read it. That the VSBA would not be going out nationally, specifically targeting folks. Is this the same? Is it more of a passive application, or is it more of a, you know, where the VSBA would go out and look at candidates?
That's not accurate information. That is I mean, that's the first time.
Well, so Daisy,
Daisy,
HR
yeah.
director stepping up,
Yeah, thank you. I know exactly what you're talking about, Michelle. They indicated, because I specifically asked them the question if they had sourcing that went national, like the other the other vendor that we were considering, and they said they did not. So, yeah, so yeah, and I will say, obviously, that, well, you don't know that, but the candidates that we received were national. We hired an individual from Ohio. So yes, we definitely reached a national audience. But at the same time, I completely agree with Michelle, and yes, so the permanent position needs the broadest net that we can put out and completely national. And I'm very excited to be working with them again. I thought Elaine was great, and thanks for moving it forward quickly.
so to clarify on that point. The reason that you think that it should be a national search, but you're okay working with the VSBA that doesn't have what you call sourcing, where they actually go out, is
Yeah,
because
so
why?
they don't have the databases that the other vendor had. That's really the difference. They're gonna have to work with, and we are gonna work with them to make sure that we reach those audiences. And that we have to go out and collect as much of those, I'm not gonna say the database, the people that are in those databases. So that we can go national. I'm not nervous at all about us being able to handle a national search.
Okay.
Thank
the
you,
bottom
Daisy.
line.
That's really helpful.
Yeah.
And I think also the information that I think Joe, Superintendent Clark, provided to me was that superintendents have a couple kind of usual suspects, sites that they go to look for jobs. And so
Absolutely.
we're not locking ourselves out of using those sites by using the VSBA or something like that.
And
On the
honestly,
contrary.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but some of these national search groups, that on their websites, they will advertise jobs that they are doing, but they will also advertise jobs that are not their searches, but their positions that exist. So somebody like me who's looking for a job typically would go to whatever the state school board association is where you'd like to work, or you go to one of these national sites that'll list all the jobs they're doing, which will be all over the country. So you might get that. So I'm sure VSBA would have the ability to advertise their job on some of these private vendor sites without any issues.
So does any other board member have any other concerns with the action item? And is there, thank you, Daisy, is there any other public comment?
No.
All right, well then, all those in favor?
I,
Okay, so the vote,
Aye.
okay, the vote's unanimous, so the motion passes. The next action item is policy governance training for the board. So this is again related to the Vermont School Board Association. I believe we have a contract from them to provide policy governance training for the board in different forms at our option. And so that is something that we can talk about and possibly action. So would you like to?
yeah, so Jen and I met with the SBA. Is it this week? Oh my gosh.
It was last week.
It was last week, sorry, okay, last week, and they talked about a timeline, which so I'm not gonna go over here. So, well, October, November, December, board development on roles and responsibilities. Jen, did we talk about, yes, oh, here it is, sorry, the Policy Governance Board Accelerator. I brought this to the board in March also. And this is, so this is an option. It's like $350 per person, and they're modules. And they estimate they take about 40 minutes to do, so I would plan on like
Each module.
each module. So, I forget how many there are, and so what you do, you would, so in between meetings, we would do one of these modules, and then we would have maybe a 20-minute discussion. The idea behind it is that we're learning together, which is something, the 3.5 years I've been on this board, I've yet to see happen. Usually it's like 2 people go, 3 people go, 1 person goes, so this, I think, so it is also self-paced too, so like when we get to budget season, if people are like, I can't handle doing this, fine, just move it to the next month, but we're all getting the same training at the same time with the superintendent. And the other, I think what would be really great about this is going to be part of the onboarding process too. So for new people coming on the board, then they can do it, so then we all know, like, they're getting up to speed by getting the same information that we have. And then there's, at the end of it, there is a half an hour where the SBA would come work with us. It's part, I think that's part of the fee. It's either 30 minutes to 60 minutes, I can't remember which one it is. And then for us to ask them questions. And after we do all the online stuff.
When modules. Eight,
Yes.
8 modules, and they said it takes between 5 to 7 hours.
Yeah.
So that's the recommendation from you, that we take the self-paced accelerator program at $300
Yeah.
per board member, as opposed to, for example, hiring one of their trainers to come to a board training and give a training.
It's a full day, that's a full day session.
Yeah, it'd be a full day session, and I just think with scheduling and everything, it would be really, really hard, and this way it gets all 8 of us, including Dr. Jones.
I mean, I had some logistics, I'm having questions now regarding the logistics, like if we have the module, is it just a one and done? Or do we have the opportunity to go back and watch it again if we had any questions? That's just one of the questions that I have. I mean,
Oh, I'm sure, I'm sure you can, I can ask.
Okay.
I can ask,
Check on that.
yeah,
So I would entertain a motion to. I don't know if we actually need a motion, but I think that the value of a motion might be to commit all of ourselves to do this training.
We're gonna be spending money, so.
yeah,
Right. So,
It's $300 per. We get a discount. I don't know if Laura, you mentioned that. It's $350 normally, but because there's more than 5 that would be going through the training, it would be
they
$300.
did mention.
And unfortunately, they would charge us if we have the student reps do the training also, so we may just have to teach you what we learned.
Yeah.
and Joe, do you have any recommendations about the kind of training we should do? Should we do it in this kind of self-paced together, as opposed to like a one-day, multi-hour training?
I think as long as we're still planning on having a retreat, that is moderated by the VSBA, I think the training's a good idea, because that will help, I think, give some background to the things we'll discuss in the retreat.
Well, I would entertain a motion. Oh, go ahead.
Just, my general thought is so long as we have the opportunity for questions, I think this is a great idea. I think it's probably a huge money saver. I'm sure there's substantive content in those training videos. Just so long, I feel like this board is going to have a lot of questions, including I speak for myself, but I'm suspecting that others are going to have questions too. So as long as we have the opportunity through a single or multiple forms that's sufficient, like 30 minutes sounds a little light. So I'm curious, Laura, if you have the contract in front of you, is it 30 minutes or is it 60? Or is it something we can negotiate?
Yeah, it's at the end and yeah, I can ask her. I'll ask her.
And I'm guessing
Okay.
they'd be pretty generous with their.
I think so.
Yeah.
I'll
That
definitely,
makes
I'll
sense.
definitely.
And these are online modules,
Yeah.
so, but would we be taking them all together here, like it was a board meeting?
No.
From our.
Oh, we don't wanna do that.
No, I just, curious.
But I think
We would do one and then talk about it.
Yeah,
Yeah, so you do one, you said it's like 15-20 minutes to discuss, and then you move on to the next one. You can do them all on a weekend if you want, then we would just discuss them as we go.
And I think what I had heard was the modules take around 7 hours to complete, and if there's 8. You know, each of the modules, I mean, could be, you know, if it's self-paced, it might take you a little bit longer, but. You know, it could take you 45 minutes to an hour to go through it. I mean, when we took the training, when Emily, Laura and I took the training, policy governance training, it was a full day. I mean, it was from like 8 or so in the morning until, I don't know, 4 or so in the afternoon, 5 in the afternoon.
So I think we should action this. I think I would entertain a motion to. Engage with the VSBA, authorize me to sign a contract with them. If that's necessary, to get us all this accelerator training and to commit the board to participate in this training, each one of us.
I would move to authorize you to
So Laura moves,
I'll second.
Jen seconds. Do we have any discussion? And the public can comment.
There's.
All right, all those in favor? The motion passes. All right, the next item on the agenda is Pledge of Allegiance. This refers specifically to the board meetings. It does not refer to anything in schools or anything like that. So does anybody want to talk about, I believe we talked about it last week also, does anybody want to talk about Pledge of Allegiance at the beginning of school board meetings?
Yeah, so me and Ally and Principal Burke talked about it today as well. We didn't have strong feelings either way, but one thing that we were talking about is that for the future, if it's a student in 2 years or me next week, and one of us didn't feel comfortable with doing the Pledge of Allegiance, and we were expected to lead it, we thought that would put student in like a really uncomfortable position. So we were wondering if it might be better for someone else to lead it, if it's not student rep. Because they might feel pressured to be like, you know, for example, it's my first week here, Ally's not there, and I'm expected to lead the Pledge of Allegiance, but for whatever philosophical reasons, I don't feel that I'm comfortable doing that. I might still do it just because, you know, I feel I'm supposed to, but we didn't want to put anyone in that type of position. And we felt that as a student, there might be slightly more pressure on them to go along with flow.
I don't think anybody would be forced to lead it, and I don't think anybody's gonna be forced to actually say
Yeah,
that they
yeah.
don't want to.
I think maybe to Moment's point, though, we might just want to make sure we know, it's the optional.
Right.
So whenever it's listed on the agenda or we address it, it is explicitly
Optional.
called out as optional, right? So that everybody knows they have the flexibility to participate or.
And I would say, and I appreciate that point, Norman, and I think that we would just need to, you know, have the conversation. If the student rep feels comfortable leading it, then that would be something that you could do, and if you don't. I mean, I would just say, you just align with,
Although then if you set a precedent and then the next student rep doesn't
Right,
want
that
to do it
route,
and then
yeah,
feels kind of guilt tripped into it.
okay.
I don't see, I would imagine maybe the chair would just
Yeah, I was just thinking, cause like on the original, like, draft sent out, it was like, oh, student reps might leave this.
Okay. Okay.
In places I've been that have done this pledge of allegiance, nobody really leaves it. It's, please, if you'd like to stand for the pledge, please stand, and then there's an awkward silence, and then somebody starts saying. I don't think anybody.
But yeah, I noticed that note too. I'm glad you noticed it and gave your thoughts on it.
Brings us
Right,
up
and I
right-
think the option would apply, right, to any portion of the pledge, because I think one of the most objectionable pieces is the expression under God. So it's under optional, it's completely acceptable to not say those words,
Yeah, and also
or
we're
any
not-
others.
and we can't compel speech. Just for clarity.
I think specifically what Mo was asking about being asked to lead it, so. we
Yeah,
just-
yeah, 100%.
We're not asking anybody to lead it of any.
Right. So my personal feeling is that it's a unifying reminder that we're all in this together and that there are institutions that we have to protect in the US, including public education. And so I think that it's a good moment for us to come together. So I would support doing the Pledge of Allegiance. It's also in line with maybe roughly half of the school districts around us. And the South Burlington City Council does it at the beginning of their meetings. So would anybody on the board like to express any disagreement with or has any other considerations that I think we should talk about?
I think the fact that it is optional pretty much abates that. In my opinion.
So I would entertain a motion to specify that in future board meetings, we have an optional Pledge of Allegiance section near the beginning of the meeting. And I'll look at the city council as a reference for when they do it, whether it's before or after announcements.
Make that motion.
Dan
Second.
moves. Austin seconds. Any discussion? So this is another opportunity for the community to comment.
Well, would they comment before everybody voted or?
No,
Oh, we're in discussion.
We're in discussion.
Oh, okay, okay.
it's before vote, yeah.
Okay, I thought we just voted.
There are no hands up.
All those in favor? Say aye.
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 So the motion passes. So we keep getting quorum, but there's a lag, Michelle, so we hit quorum and then,
Oh, so I'm
Um,
saying aye all by myself?
No.
no.
It's fine. One more, this is I'll be back in person next meeting.
All right. The next item on our agenda is student representative non-binding vote opportunity. So can a board member talk to this action item?
So, I mean, what I have heard from Moment and Ally, and feel free to jump into this, but what I have heard is that you would like the opportunity to vote. And it's a non-binding vote, but just so that you have the chance to weigh in and cite your position on something, and also so that the community can see where you stand. That's.
Yeah.
Is there something else to add?
That's pretty much it, yeah. That was what, I think one of the first things Ally said to me when I first met with her, like, she was like, we can't vote right now, but we're working on it, so. Yeah,
Right to vote.
So it'd be non-binding, you know, it wouldn't count for obviously your quorum and all of that for majority vote, but I think it'd be great to hear.
Completely agree.
Well, I would entertain a motion. Oh, go.
Oh,
Can
sorry,
I just
Barbara.
want to ask Moment a question. I'm curious, Moment, if you have a sense of around the country, and not that this is vote deciding at all. But around the country, do you know whether or not boards are headed in this direction? And the reason I ask is because a close personal friend's son, she just announced that her son is can vote, and it's a binding vote. So I don't know. I don't have the knowledge or expertise, or I haven't really looked at this nationally, but I'm curious if you have a sense of what's happening nationally with this.
Not certain nationally. I know in Vermont, I don't believe there's any schools that have a binding vote,
They
but
can't,
yeah, yeah,
that's
I
against the
thought,
law.
yeah. But I believe on the, I think it's the Board of Education or some, it's like one of the like higher government ones. There is a student rep who can have a binding vote. But on school boards in Vermont, at least, I think there may be a few that have non-binding votes, but I don't.
Burlington,
yeah,
Burlington
yeah.
District definitely does.
Yeah, but I'm certain they're not in Vermont, but I'm not sure outside of,
You're
yeah. I'm not sure outside of Vermont.
There's something that with the voters would have to.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, you'd have.
Thank you.
Ron.
My example is from California, so
Yeah.
Central Coast, California.
So,
If it's okay.
please, Jean Marie Clark, Director of Operations and Finance at the district.
Thank you. I just wanted to say that kudos to you, Moment, and to your predecessors. I think having been a board member myself, I think it's just incredibly valuable to have a student who's so committed, students that are so committed to be a part of the board. So I wanted to say that to you, but I also just think that like, if there's other ways that you as a board can help them feel included and valued as a part, like just having their opinions is amazing. So I just personally want to say as an employee, as a parent, and as a former board member, I 100% support you and, you know, future students and past students who've done this work. And I'd like to just, you know, give my confidence in that vote. So thank you. Yeah, of course.
So I would entertain a motion to request that student representatives cast a non-binding vote when appropriate on school board actions.
I move.
Second.
Laura moves, Jen seconds. Any discussion? And this is another opportunity for the public to comment.
A question, what do you mean by when appropriate?
I think that there are probably votes that it wouldn't be appropriate to ask for a student vote on.
Also, like certain things that we just like AT orders, for example, like.
Yeah.
Sure, why not?
We were talking about it today, we're like, yeah, how we might be abstaining, but overall.
Okay.
So is that board or chair discretion? I just want to be clear. I'm not questioning
Yeah.
or, you know, like judging. I just want to be clear.
Yes, I think it should be, that's a good point. So maybe we'll let yes, Elizabeth.
I think if they're a voting member, then they can vote on anything.
Hi,
Go ahead,
Seamus. No, I was just going to say I concur with the board's recommendation, and I think the students that preceded the current Ally and Momar did a great job setting the stage. I think it's a move in the right direction. Congratulations, assuming this passes.
So I think, Michelle, thank you for that, Elizabeth. I think that Michelle makes a good point. Is it up to the chair to decide in every case whether the student should vote? Or or is it that the student votes by default and the chair says, no, don't vote on this one? Or do we just not have any sort of control like that and assume that they'll vote on everything they don't
I
have
mean,
to say?
what are you gonna do? Have a vote to see if they can vote? It's either your discretion.
I'd say you either invite their vote or, and that's one path, is you invite their vote based on every vote, or they just vote on everything. And we'll pick one of those as the cleanest path.
Right.
Keep it easy.
One
And
thing
if there's-
we,
Sorry.
one thing we talked about today is just that like, there's obviously some things that me and Ally may not have like the most knowledge about, especially like earlier on when it's a new student rep and they're still getting the hang of things. So well, cause we weren't certain on how it would play out, on whether or not it'd be like someone inviting us to vote, or whether by default we're voting, so.
You can abstain.
Yeah, exactly. Principal Burke was saying that, it's very important that you guys vote on the things that you're knowledgeable of and not just follow the crowds. And if you're not knowledgeable, say yeah, abstain or, don't vote in that situation. So I think, in my opinion, I would like it if we had the option to vote and, we'll abstain if it's something that, doesn't make sense for us to, and, or if we don't have the knowledge.
I think that's excellent. I
Sure.
think that's real world training, right? Like if you want the full experience of being on the board, making that decision is not easy. Yeah.
I agree, so you guys have the option to vote on everything and abstain at your discretion.
Okay, so I think the motion fails. And
Do it again.
so I would entertain a motion to invite the student representatives to vote on all board action items. And note that the votes are non-binding.
I move.
Laura moves,
A second.
Austin seconds. Any discussion? This is another opportunity for the public to comment.
Your views.
All those in favor?
Aye.
The motion passes. Thank you.
Well done, student rep.
Should have done that first in the.
Yes. I will need some kind of a reminder.
Yeah.
So. Okay, so at this point, we've been in session for 2 hours. We are caught up, we're about 10 minutes early. Do we want to take a quick recess or keep moving?
Let's just keep moving.
Okay, great. So we're done with action items. The next section are discussion items. I will note that we do not currently take public comment during discussion items. So the first item is advice to the superintendent on the October 28th redistricting committee meeting. So this item is about a meeting that the redistricting task force will have in Winooski on October 28th. And the idea is that the superintendent would attend this task force meeting and make a public comment on behalf of the South Burlington School District. If you don't know, the redistricting task force is legally required to produce a set of maps redistricting school districts in the whole state by sometime in December, and having a voice in how that happens is valuable for the community. So this discussion item is what kind of advice we would like to give the superintendent for his presumed presentation to that committee. Austin, do you want to start with any just big broad strokes?
Sure, Seamus and I had a conversation with a representative last week that was informative and introduced some good information to us, and I've had some subsequent conversations with additional reps about the.
When you say reps, what do you mean?
Who are on the redistricting committee to learn more about the process and ways in which boards can participate, should communicate, what would be helpful. Out of those conversations, one of the things that has come up multiple times is there are some districts that are opposing the redistricting very vocally. And then there are some proposals that there might be like a BOCE map, which is stands for, those who are unaware, which is a Boards of Cooperative Education, which is similar to something Dr. Clark experienced in Ohio called Educational Service Centers, which are shared regionalized services for behavioral intervention. So it seems like there will be a map that is a bit of a middle ground or a halfway point to redistricting that will be largely BOCE focused. And that seems to have some more support as a interim step to like a full redistricting. So at least one of the maps that we should expect will be along that framework.
Okay, so you're saying that what you've heard from people on the task force
Yes, and others, yeah.
and others is that some school districts are simply going up and saying, we don't want to do this, don't merge us with anybody. And then there's other school boards that are making more nuanced comments about what should happen.
Yes, and there is a early opinion that this is the redistricting more disproportionately impacts the rural communities in Vermont. So they're spending a little bit more time focusing on those aspects of the map where there are larger communities with longer commutes and what the implications are there. Chittenden County, being that it is more densely populated, there will be fewer sort of collapsing redistricting impacts. So I'm happy to share my opinion with the board so far based on what we've learned. It would be my recommendation that there is still so much that we do not know about the impacts of this, and so much is still in flight, that we express that we do not oppose redistricting based on the information we have available today, right? And maybe we'd be a little more resistant if we knew more, we would be a little more embracing of it if we knew more, but there's still so little that we know about this. I would suggest that we express that we are not in opposition to redistricting based on what we know today. We have not yet found a suitable partner for redistricting, but that we would be open to having conversations with our surrounding districts. And I'd like to, invite other districts to communicate with us if they think we would be good partners. And I'd like to express that we have heard about BOCES and based on, some early conversations with Dr. Clark that you and I participated in, and other conversations, since we are supportive of a BOCES model. And whether that ends up being an interim to a full redistricting or a halfway point to a full redistricting or a alternative to full redistricting, who knows? But that we are in support of that model, which sets up regional centers to serve students of the highest need and takes some of the burden off of each individual school. It also has some pretty effective cost saving measures. We find ourselves in an environment where like the costs of special education are running so high, we need to be open to programs like BOCES to mitigate those costs while still serving those students.
Find everybody what BOCES stands for.
Boards of Cooperative Education, and Dr. Clark experienced a similar model in Ohio called Educational Service Centers. Dr. Clark, if I can put you on the spot a little.
I think now we should so that's our first suggestion from a board member. I think it'd be a great time for Dr. Clark to kind of paint the big picture for us, what he thinks he should accomplish, what he can accomplish, what advice he needs from us, and then we can come back to board discussion.
Yeah, so as I've said a few times, I'm new to Vermont, I'm new to this district, and I'm an interim superintendent. I don't think it would be responsible of me to go to a meeting and say that this is what is best for South Burlington. That's why I would love the board, as representatives of the people who elected you, to let me know how you would like me to lobby on your behalf. Austin did talk about where I came from in Ohio. There was each county had an educational service center. So there were 88 educational service centers across the state. They have since consolidated. I don't know how many there are now, but they're more regional educational service centers, and those would be it gives me the impression it's very similar to what these BOCES are talking about. So for example, I worked in a district that we had a need for occupational therapy and physical therapy, but we didn't have a need to have somebody on staff full time. So we would buy those services through the educational service center. So a lot of special education needs, particularly for the higher, or the less frequent incident, but the higher disability kind of students, we would purchase through NESC. They would also do like group professional development. They had a lot of other services they would offer, but that was kind of the model, and it seemed to work really well, particularly for smaller districts and more rural districts. I don't know if I know what Act 73 is. I don't know if it'll come to pass or not. I think that people are always in favor of saving money until you start talking about, okay, but you're going to be combined with another school, and whose logo is going to go on the side of your football helmet. I think there's a lot of romanticism about traditional school districts that will probably rear its head after the list of proposed mergers come. So I don't know. But if this board, like Austin said, we may be in favor or we may not be. We don't know enough now. But if it were going to happen, these might be some districts that we think would be a good partner for us, or would seem to fit more naturally. I also have concern. I mean, I think you've probably heard me say that I think our facilities are not adequate for our kids. They're not 21st century kind of buildings, and I think that adds a really a unique wrinkle to anybody that we might merge with, because, for instance, if they merge us with Burlington, they're going to have a brand new high school and how does that impact, if we were to merge with them with our old high school and their new high school, how do communities, come to terms with that kind of, inequity? So, I think it's a really, admirable thing that the state's trying to do. I think it's really, really big. I don't know if it'll happen, but right now it's on a path to happen. So I would love to be able to know, when I go to this meeting on the 28th and they open it up to comments from superintendent, for anybody in the public, you know, how would you like me to, represent our district?
I guess it's, I think it would be reckless if we were to express that we resisted this movement based on what we know today. I think it would be productive and proactive for us to say, based on what we know today, we vaguely support this. We support BOCES as a middle ground, and a lot of people are talking about that as an interim map that will be proposed. And I would love to raise our hand to say, if there are districts who believe that we would be good partners together, we'd love to talk to you. There are some districts around the state that are resisting this, and that's their right. I think that would be unproductive for us to do at this time, and I would love for us to at least be open to other districts, having conversations with adjacent districts and seeing like ways that we can work together. Are there combinations where maybe a regional tech center could make a lot of sense, right? As Dr. Clark mentioned, our facilities do need a lot of money and care and upkeep. And is there a world where, you know, we can rehabilitate our locations and also benefit our surrounding adjacent, you know, districts who partner with us?
Anybody else have any initial thoughts?
I want to support that approach. I think having the conversations, opening it up, talking to other districts, I think that is the exact right response and action to take, because putting a stake in the ground as, you know, with limited information and with no community input to this point, I think would be exactly as Austin said, it would just be irresponsible to do at this point.
I agree, so.
I do, but I also think the wording of it, you know, saying we're not resistant, but we're also not like, yeah, just throw us wherever, you know, like, we need more information. It's basically the bottom line, and we want to have more information, we want to have conversations, and we want to learn about all the opportunities. Yeah.
Right, and I think, didn't you said, well, yeah, you have input, and like if we had to combine, like we would have the opportunity to give our opinion.
Absolutely, yeah. I think, yeah.
You have to talk to people
The best
first.
marriages are where everybody's a willing suitor.
Yeah.
So I think we should find districts who actually want to partner.
Yeah, I think, the proactive approach, I think is definitely the way to go. There are some districts who are already doing it.
Right.
There's some rural districts who are
Yeah.
like, we're doing it now.
I think the Upper Valley. has
Yes,
three in
Upper Valley.
particular, yeah.
Yeah, so I would definitely.
So I have three thoughts. First of all, how are they all gonna leave from my mind? Oh, so the first thing is I think that I would like it if your message was about addressing the true cost drivers, right? And so BOCES is one solution to one of the true cost drivers around special ed costs. So I think that just to mention that if what the goal is to, you know, save money, then we should be looking strongly at what the cost drivers are. And that we're a district that I think is open to doing creative things and leading the way. Second, I had a question to the board and to the superintendent, if when the conversation comes up, like, well, should we merge, like, is that a superintendent to superintendent conversation, or is that a board to board conversation?
My opinion with decisions this large, it's a board. I mean, the community owns the schools. I'm the steward of the schools. I don't think it's the superintendent's discretion to decide who we're going to merge with or those sorts of things.
I guess let me rephrase the question. In order to prepare the board for that kind of discussion, it would seem to me that maybe superintendents should all meet each other and then maybe make some recommendations about which boards should meet each other, as opposed to the
Yeah,
other way around.
I don't disagree with that. And superintendents we've started those conversations already. I'm part of the Champlain Valley Superintendent's Association. We've had 2 meetings, and this has been a topic at both meetings. And what Austin said is accurate. There are some superintendents there who want no part of this. There are some that think, let's be proactive, because if we can give them a a solution instead of them forcing a solution on us, that would be better. And then there are others who think, it's not even gonna happen, like, don't spend the time. You know, it's really a wide range of opinions. But yes, I agree that it would, I'm confident enough that I could learn what I think might be a good solution for us and share it with you. I'm not right now, before I go to that meeting on the 28th.
Okay, and do you feel like you have a coherent message and a complete message from just that basic discussion that we just had? Or what else, how else can we, make it so that it's our message, not your message?
No, I do. I'm gonna go there. I'm gonna take my shoe off and slam it on the table and say. I'm kidding, I shouldn't have just like that. No, I do. I absolutely do. I think what I'm hearing you say, I'll rephrase it, is that we're not opposed to it, but we're not necessarily in favor of it either. We are absolutely open to creative ideas. We are interested in saving, in saving money. We would like to know if there are any folks in our area that might be interested in doing some sort of consolidation with us. And we would really love to learn more, but we're not gonna come out as a hard, no, we're not gonna do this. We think that it's likely good for the state, particularly rural districts and districts of poverty, smaller districts. So that's kind of my message.
Joe, can you share a little bit of the conversation you've had with Laura and I when we met with you this week? And you were telling us about some of the schools that you had worked with before in Ohio. And one that stuck out was you were saying it was like a K-12 and very similar to Winooski. But I heard you say there was, just the opportunity for what was present in
Yeah.
that school with the rec center. And speaking of creative solutions, like, can you just give
Yeah,
a
so
flavor
that,
of
yeah,
that?
so, you're combining two of the schools that I was referencing. The last school district that I worked at was 750 students all under one building, or under one group, K-12. And because it was so small, we could not offer things like, we didn't have physics, we had 0 AP classes, we did not have elementary music, because we just couldn't justify hiring staff to teach 3 kids physics, et cetera, et cetera. So that's exactly the kind of district that I think consolidation, similar districts in Vermont it would be great for that, because when you have more students together, you can offer more programs. It's really that simple. Now, the district that my own children went to, was a larger district, and I was talking about their facilities, and they built a high school. My older son was a senior when it opened, so he got 1 year of it, and my younger son got all 4 years of it. But that high school that they built in Wadsworth, Ohio, they wanna search it. It was a community and school collaboration where it's a high school. But the high school also had a YMCA in it that was open to the public. It had a branch of the library in it. It had I wouldn't call it a hospital, but the hospital had a presence in there with like a emergency care and those kinds of things. It had a senior center in it. And it was jointly that section of the building was jointly managed by the schools and the community. So there'd be times when the community couldn't come in and use the field house because PE classes were doing it, but after 3 o'clock, it was open for youth sports, for a community to walk the track above the field house, and it had a pool that was open to the community. It was really it was something that, again, my kids had, and I worked in a district that I wish we could have, we went on, we visited it, and it just didn't come to pass where I work, but it was, to me, it was the ideal partnership between a city and a school district.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was cool. They wanted.
So does everybody on the board feel that our views were represented by what Joe said a couple minutes ago? In terms of that rundown?
Yes. I will draft a statement, and I'll put it in the board update this week. So if there's anything that you have a gut reaction to, like, do not say that. You can feel free to let me know.
Yeah, and I think you should probably just go straight to Joe with that feedback, not the whole board.
Yeah, the board shouldn't have this discussion. We should be in.
Great. So the next item is confirmation on the board retreat date. And so this one, we scheduled it as a discussion item, I imagine, so that we'd actually make a decision. So I'm gonna share my screen. Apologies for all of the ads on doodle.com that try to make you pay for it by literally loading so many ads that you can't use it. But here is what people have provided. So across the top are all the days. And we basically offered times from December 1st until December 17th. December 17th, we have a board meeting. No, December 16th. So we have a board meeting at the end of this and also at the beginning. The board meeting on the 3rd, there is already a board meeting on the 3rd, and it is a community forum. So according to the number of people who can attend, the best day is December 3rd.
For the retreat.
For the retreat. So now we're talking about the retreat. So the best day is December 3rd. Now, Dan, Emily are not available on that day.
And Laura probably won't be there.
No, it's on a weekday, I cannot.
Okay, right. So I think I included Saturday and Sunday. So Saturday and Sunday, we are pretty not available. And also Saturday. Oh, well, this Saturday, the 13th has higher possibilities than the other ones. School board. Yes, it looks like we would lose staff, but we would have school board members. Joe, can you talk to how we should view the presence of staff at the retreat?
I would love for them to be there, but I think it's quite frankly more important for the superintendent and the board to be together on that day. I would, if we did a meeting on that Saturday, I would absolutely speak with the staff to get whatever their concerns are. And what my hope is that we will have a nice discussion about how do we communicate, what do we, which staff members are responsible for what, so if you have a question, who might you reach out to, et cetera. We can do that without staff being there, but I also think it's important for staff to get some face time with the board. So maybe there'll be other opportunities. What I'm saying is I would not choose the 13th. If all the board members can be there and I can be there, I would not choose that date because some of the staff aren't unable to come.
Board member feelings, December 13th, Saturday.
Yeah.
All right, well then we will confirm December 13th as our retreat date.
What about our student reps? Are they gonna be participating in this?
You're
How do you-
invited.
You wanna vote on this?
I'm sorry that I didn't send you a doodle for this,
Sounds good. Could you, it was Saturday,
December 13th.
I can talk with Ally and get back to you guys. I'm sure both of us would be interested in going, so I gotta check our schedule and make sure nothing's going on that day.
How about I'll
Well,
send
you're
you guys
invited.
an email just right now.
Thank you so much.
And are we talking about like a half day kind of 4-hour thing in the morning meet?
What's your advice?
My advice is a half day, 4 hours. 8 to noon or 9 to 1 or something, have some light snacks and just. I think beyond that, I think we lose.
And this is gonna be a warned meeting. So that,
It's a public meeting, people
Okay.
can come and watch us retreat, and I think we get the VSBA to moderate it with their expertise in doing this.
okay, so I think that, Joe, would you provide a list of topics that we should warn?
Yes,
And then also board members, if you have specific things you wanna talk about at the board retreat, please send them to me, or you can send them to the whole board at scheduling, so.
or have you talked to the VSBA about the retreat?
No, I did not mention the retreat, so I should ask.
Okay.
I could ask about
You
that.
can, I'm comfortable doing it too,
Sure,
if I
yeah,
can take care of
that
that,
sounds great.
I've got some contact.
So in that context, it wasn't warned for action, but we can amend if 2/3 of us agree. Should, so would it be okay if we consider a motion to authorize me to negotiate with the VSBA to get them to be present at the meeting? Okay, so 2/3 of us would be okay
Yes.
with changing the schedule. Okay, so then I would entertain a motion to authorize the chair to negotiate with the VSBA to moderate the retreat.
I think this is something they.
Well, hold on, wait,
Okay,
wait,
sorry.
sorry.
I move.
Laura moves, Austin seconds, discussion.
Okay, I'm sorry. I think that this is something they do often, and they probably have a set fee, quite honestly, then they will come out and do it for this, and they probably even have listened to the topics that they would go through. But I'll give you some feedback on that. when I talk to them.
Well, it's with VSBA.
And this is an opportunity for public comment. Apologies that it wasn't on the agenda as possible action, but I just don't wanna say that we are gonna have a VSBA moderator, but then not have the authority to actually sign them up. So any public comment on this idea? Okay, so all those in favor,
I,
the motion passes.
Oh,
Oh, and
Oh, right, aye.
Nicely done.
Gotta be here.
Should vote no.
okay, so now, so the motion passes, and I think that we can then, we'll work with Joe to schedule where it is. We don't have to do, scheduling is not an open meeting.
Yeah.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is the confirmation of the community forum date, location, topics. So community forum is December 3rd. It is a regular school board meeting. And Joe has already reached out to the senior center to get it scheduled there. Possible topics are, as I understand it, budget, redistricting, superintendent search.
That's a lot. That sounds good.
And of course, anybody can suggest other topics. We have quite a while before we have to warn it. Any other discussion on the community forum? So another discussion item is, what are other opportunities to partner with city police to strengthen safety around schools? Does any school board member want to speak to that?
No, this was just something that came up following the session last week, and Joe, I don't know if you have any other updates on that.
Just that last Thursday, so we met last Wednesday, last Thursday, I went and, with Melissa McDonald, and we did a walking tour of City Center with, Jesse Baker and, the new police chief Bro and a couple other folks, from their office, just to look at really the concerns about, around Marcotte of, this is not the needle issue, this is the, all the apartments there where we have kids that are walking to school, who, it became really clear that there's ample, sidewalks, there's ample, crosswalks. But people aren't used to driving that area, yeah, so there are still some reckless driving, some speeding, some running, stop signs, some stopping too far into the intersection to allow buses to turn and that kind of thing. I think honestly, the feeling I had after we left is that this is a problem that will get better as they open up more streets and as people get more used to it and as more traffic is there. Right now, we only have one crossing guard in that area. I'm not sure if this is. I don't have enough information to determine whether we would need additional crossing guards or not. But I mean, that was that's the only update I have, was taking that hike and
Seeing you.
just get a sense that we have kids coming from all of those apartments. And they cross some streets, but I mean, their crosswalks are very clearly marked and, you know, they're all four-way stops. And, in theory, that should be pretty safe for them.
And the kids know the appropriate places to cross.
Yep.
Yeah, because the one thing that worries me whenever I drive in that area is there's so many cars that are parked along the side of the roads. That if there was ever a little person there that jolted out, but you may not see them. That would be my concern. So I'm just wondering, like, what kind of, if there's been communications with the students to like reinforce some of safe behaviors?
I know that the teachers and administration over there talk about
Okay.
us,
Great.
safety. And I also know that there are staff members that go out and, out into that area to help kids and direct them where to
Okay.
go. I'll tell you what else was just very, very impressive to me as we were walking around, with Lissa. Kids were coming out of their apartments to shout, "Hey, Mrs. McDonald." It was very, very impressive how, much love they had for her, and that was really warming to
Great.
see.
The chair recognizes Jean Marie Clark, Director of Finance and Operations. Thanks, Rick.
I love that you share my title every time. I just wanted to tag on to what Joe said, one of the big things that I did last fall, or that we did as an organization, was add a variety of bus drivers to our staff of bus drivers. Once we did that, we were able to sort of turn on all of our bus routes. We did have buses, we were doing rolling cancellations, we were not running all of our buses and bus routes at that time. Having all those buses running then alleviated some of the issues that we had at Rick Marcotte, and has added some other challenges there. But one of the issues that we do continue to have in that area is there is one crossing guard there now. That crossing guard is not a district employee. That's a crossing guard that's employed by another business, the Snyder Braverman Company, just down the road from us. And they pay a lot of money for their crossing guard, a lot more than we do. So we have really struggled in hiring crossing guards for any and all of our campus locations for students to have that. I've investigated, I haven't had a ton of time to investigate how they are able to hire crossing guards they're very successful with that in Essex Westford School District, where they don't bus all of their students. I believe that those employees are part of the Public Works, they're city employees. So anyhow, that's something that potentially we could investigate, finding the right person. We've had folks that have volunteered in that position in the past and have had some real concerns about not, just because you have a yellow vest on doesn't necessarily mean that the drivers are gonna pay attention to what you are doing, or that you're trained to direct traffic. Like, I was helping direct traffic at the Orchard School earlier this fall, when we were dealing with some paving issues in that lot, and I had my safety vest on because my husband wouldn't let me out the door without it. But still, people are like driving by me. So it's kind of a dangerous position, and we haven't found a good solution to that yet. So there's that piece I wanted to share. The other thing that I don't know if Lissa pointed out to you, Joe, is with all the development that's happened sort of up against the Rick Marcotte School, there previously was a pathway, like along the playground over to the big apartment complex on that same side of the street as the central school. With the development that's happened, that pathway is gone. And so there's no clear, for the students that are in that housing area, there's no sort of clear pathway for them to get into the school campus. So last week, while I was out of town, the city had convened a traffic study of the Rick Marcotte School and the turning radius of that intersection for the buses and all of the things that impact folks that are trying to get in and out of that campus. They presented their findings and their recommendations to the Bike and Ped Committee meeting on Wednesday. We were talking a little bit about this earlier. And there were 5 recommendations that came out of that study. One was to reinstall that some sort of a pathway from that housing organization over to, because it really was well utilized by the students and also sort of guided by some of our staff that are sort of helping to direct the pedestrian traffic. So it does feel like more to come as it relates to that campus, because it's an adorable school with a city that has grown up around it. And so there's just growing pains with that and how we manage that, how we partner with the city to manage good traffic behavior in that area, and like to your point, Jen, around, students. Even though we may do our very best as parents and as our educators in telling and instructing our students how to use crosswalks, that doesn't mean that they aren't leaping out in between, I've seen teenagers and children, I'm sure you have as well, so, you know, more work to be done there in all of those avenues, so I just wanted to share that, so, yeah.
Thank you.
I guess the one other thing that I would share as sort of it relates to encouraging more folks to walk and bike to school. Joe and I were in our Safe Routes to School committee meeting earlier today, and we were discussing the additional things that we could do on the Orchard School campus. And I just wanted to share that. I know this happens a lot at the Gertrude Chamberlain School, but having spent several mornings at the Orchard School watching the number of students and families that walk and bike to school, it's really, really cool. Like, I have grown up and lived my whole life in a very rural area. I did walk to school as an elementary kid, but it was like me and the other 3 neighbor kids all by ourselves. Walking was not the thing to do, but it just was really lovely. And I hope that we can continue to, as a board and as a district, partner with our city and our police department to continue to have these safe communities and neighborhoods where our students can walk to school together. So to that end, one of the suggestions we got from a family about a month ago was to try to install covered bike parking at the Orchard School so that you can year-round ride your bike, as some of you I know do ride your bikes, and have a place to have that. And we actually today got one of the members of the committee said was willing to donate an additional bike rack to that campus, which is great. So,
Great.
so good stuff.
I
Yeah.
was just having this conversation. I live in the Orchards neighborhood and my son bikes to school every
Thanks.
day, all year long. I mean, he
Yeah.
never wants to even walk in. So
Yeah.
I will be biking. And I was just thinking he's in 4th grade and I'm thinking, how am I gonna get him to bike to the middle school? 'Cause I
Oh.
want him to bike there too.
Yeah.
And I want it to start out like, that's what you do in 6th grade. So it just kind of is a habit.
Yeah.
So I'm really curious and I'd love to think of other ways we could get more people. I know it's a longer bike ride.
Yeah.
A little more dangerous, but it's totally doable.
Yeah.
I think that it would be great to try to get more kids to do
The
it.
bike bus is really cool. And I know I participated in a session with city council before and they spoke about it. I think that's what it's called, the bike bus. And
I'm
it
not
leaves,
familiar, I guess.
it leaves at a certain time. And there's adults that go and then the kids kind of follow.
Oh, they all go
Oh,
together.
they all
I see
go
what you're saying.
together,
And they
Yeah,
all
yeah,
go
yeah.
together, which is
Yeah.
kind
Yeah.
of neat.
Well, and the
I'm
other
gonna
thing I would.
get my husband to do it.
Yeah, and also that. I would also share that the Safe Routes to School Committee, I've been on it since I've been here, but it existed long before I got here. And what they've been doing is sort of going campus by campus to work with the pinch points and address things that the school can address and that the Safe Routes to School, the local motion folks can help us address. And that the city can address in making things safer for our bikers
Yeah.
and walkers. And so we've really focused a lot of time on Rick Marcotte because, obvious reasons there. But the next one that we're working towards is the high middle lot. So hopefully that'll incentivize your student to continue to, it's definitely, it's doable.
It's doable.
And
It's that hill, that's the main problem. I can grade that hill.
And one of Nick Anderson is a really vibrant member of our community and of the bike ped committee. He and his family bike absolutely everywhere from what I can tell. And he is really passionate about making sure that we have those safe avenues for all of us to use. And so I'm hopeful that there's gonna be, and the city's been a great partner. Like even today, the director of public works was like, well, we have in our sort of supply, additional, those flashing yellow crosswalk lights that they're like $20,000 a piece and they're ready to just be installed somewhere. So we just have to work together on prioritizing the list of what's most important, where are the best places to install them. So I would also share publicly that the work that they did on Dorset Street this summer, as a person who spends a lot of time crossing Dorset Street to get to those buildings on the other side, that new crosswalk is people actually stop, which is, I'm very grateful
Really
for.
good crosswalks.
Not everyone stops.
Thank you. Joe, do you know if the board should send a representative to the Safer Routes Task Force?
Well, Jean Marie and I are there, so.
Okay.
we-
I get emails about it and I wasn't sure if we were at the board was supposed to.
Kate
set-
Bailey and
Yeah.
we used to have an, Lane Society. were on it.
Yeah, I think that, there is a position for there's a slot for a board member to be named as a representative to the Safe Routes to School Committee, and I think that I reminded Violet of that, at the end of the school year, when it was a busy time, but Joe and I definitely go. I go regularly, frequently. Our principals of the schools that we're really focusing on are in attendance as well. So it's probably good for one of you to be named as the person, but I don't know that you would need to attend on a regular.
I mean, I did participate a couple of times and then I've just had a conflict. I haven't been able to go back during the work, because it's during the work week and I haven't been able to do it.
Maybe
so.
what we should do is ask Joe to make a recommend, like, if you think that that seat should be filled,
Mhm.
would you let us know?
Yeah, I'll let you know.
Because I know Kate Bailey was showing up as a rep, but I think it would be helpful to have an actual board person participate, because then they can feed.
Well, that's the other option.
Yeah.
We could
If
either,
anybody wants to do it.
Yeah, we could do it.
Yeah, and I think Chelsea was named as the rep before she stepped down. I know I've seen her name on there before, so I don't know if she volunteered or
Meetings
just.
are they're monthly.
They just have moved them and, now they're Wednesday afternoons. They were Thursday. It's like at 1:30.
So once a month.
Yeah.
so why don't we let,
Via Zoom or via Teams.
if you think that the board should be present, and also please do send us a note. And then, or send me a note, and then also we can schedule a discussion of choosing somebody to be on that if we think it's wise.
And Jean Marie, last year, the focus was on Chamberlain, so they started with Chamberlain and have lots of recommendations, to the city about.
Yeah, it's good work.
Yeah, I will do that. I think it's never a bad thing, for school and city to work together. So if somebody wanted to do it and was available to do it, I think it'd be a great idea to be on there.
I agree.
Does anybody want to be on the Wednesdays Safe Routes Task Force?
I cannot.
I cannot.
Because the
Yeah,
time is- it's during the
I
work
was
day,
kind of
so
conflicts. Yeah.
Okay,
What
so
is
we'll-
the
we'll-
timing?
I think we
It's
should,
1:30. They just have changed it. It's
Yeah.
1:30 on Wednesdays.
yeah.
And it's almost exclusively remote now. We were meeting at City Hall, but now it's remote.
Okay, so we'll take it up in a future
Once-
meeting.
once-
I'm sorry, once a month.
Okay.
Okay, we'll take it up in a future meeting.
Maybe one of the student boards.
Yeah.
Couple of them, Matt,
That's right.
A couple of the things you could do for the safety is, ask the police to put the speed card. You know, it's a mobile thing, they pop up, gives you the speed, that slows people down, but nothing improves people's driving like a marked police car in the area,
Yeah.
and they can. You know, if you're noticing problems, or you could just ask them to. You know, cause I know Chamberlain's also a problem, with White Street, just the speed can get up really big there. And, Market Street. But speed cart, Mon Cruiser does wonders.
And we went half of, all of last year without a morning crossing guard because we just couldn't fill the position. Thankfully, someone is in a position this year.
That's,
We had no one to cross students on White Street.
would you introduce it's a staff member making a comment? Would
It's,
you?
Holly, of the Gertrude Chamberlain School.
Are we good on this one for now?
Yeah.
All right, thank you. The next item is, project management tracker update. I think since we started doing this a couple of board meetings ago, it's just meant to kind of be a reminder of what individual board members are pursuing. And so, for example, I am continuing to do research, with help from Joe on IEPs. At this point, I think, would it be okay, Michelle and Jen, if I added you to this? We're kind of just independently researching this.
Yeah.
Would it be-
Yeah, it is. You, Sean. Want to speak for you?
So we just want to be transparent with the public that we're looking into that. We don't have a committee, we're not meeting about it, but we have been doing research about it. I'm also asking questions to Joe about support staff. And the difficulty of hiring support staff. That's just a personal topic that I'm researching. Does anybody want to talk about any other work that they're doing?
I mean, my name is next to the superintendent committees. I'm not 100% sure that means. Sorry, I don't know what that means.
So, back a couple meetings ago, we talked about superintendent committees as being a good open meeting law compatible way
Yes.
for,
Agree with that. Yep. I
right?
remember that.
And so the two that we said, there were many ideas during the community forum, we talked about probably a dozen different committee ideas. And Joe recommended that the ones we start with be, I believe it was you, curriculum and finance.
Yeah, and the curriculum one is nearly formed and ready to have their first meeting, and I think Nicole, if she has not already, will be reaching out to see which board members would like to be on that. I think a board member or two should be. Finance, Jean Marie is working on, but quite frankly, it's a little behind because of audit and budget and all of those sorts of things. So she'll be getting that together, but there will be a better time of year to start doing that.
Okay, so Jen, I can strike this and we can all wait for, because the idea is that we want to delete things as we finish.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say delete it. I would say, I would say we want to keep it on there. And I think that as we're looking forward, there's going to be a separate committee, which is not a superintendent, but it's the interim or the
Yeah.
superintendent search committee. That's going to be a separate thing. So I would actually add maybe another line item that we're going to have the superintendent search committee now that we've approved or will be approving the contract. We're going to need to pull that together.
And I think I would just list, I think each committee separately, so you could have a couple
Yeah.
people who put their names next to it. Instead of superintendent committees in general, it's curriculum advisory committee and
Yeah.
who's gonna be on it. And finance committee who's gonna be on it.
Okay, so I'm hearing a few things here. We did just take action to approve the contract with the VSBA. And I realized that we did not nominate a search committee. And that is gonna come up almost immediately once we start that. And so I might propose that we we amend the agenda right now, 2/3 vote of the board. Sorry about that we nominate a committee to attend those, permanent superintendent search.
Isn't that something that's gonna be
Yeah, I-
suggested by Elaine, like who's gonna make up the committee and how many people on
But
it?
people from the board, if we want to have people that want to be a part of it, like what we do.
Just board members. you're
Yeah,
talking
just
about
be
right now.
board members.
They have to
What
do
I
it
would
right
think.
now, I mean,
Well, when is our next meeting?
November.
November 5th.
Yeah.
So that would be 2 weeks. So I think we probably want to have nominated board members before.
Who would like to participate in the permanent superintendent search? I mean, last time it was Seamus, Laura, and I.
I would like to.
Okay, well, let's wait for
Dan.
Dan to get back, then we'll amend the agenda. Apologies for doing that,
I
to,
don't think.
I mean, and I think we gotta specify, this is strictly for the board to say who wants to be a part of that.
Yes.
One reason I would like to talk to Elaine to see how many members she wants. Last time it was 3, and maybe she wants 4 people this time. I think it's a little premature.
well, why don't we nominate 4, and then we just say, 3 people plus. Well, anyway, let's serve.
It's just interesting.
Would it be out of line, since you have a relationship with Elaine and we've already voted to move forward working with them, to just email her and ask those questions now? And then we could also have a short list of people that we've assembled tonight to fit whatever number she gives us. Right, if she gives us 2 or 3 or 4.
Who's interested?
Right.
Yeah, let's just I feel like, given the urgency, the time urgency, we should not fail to nominate 4 people now. So that when the time comes, we have a ready committee that can meet with the search.
Well,
Oh,
this,
yeah,
I
we
don't
can,
know.
of course.
Yeah,
Is that a quorum?
Yeah.
Right, right.
Oh, yeah, we
Right,
can
right.
have, so it's gotta be three.
Yeah.
It's gotta be three.
Yeah.
Maybe she wants, but maybe she wants
Good point.
fewer.
Well, then, let's nominate, so the proposal here, apologies for doing this a second time, is to amend the agenda by a 2/3 vote of the board to, say who on the board, would go on to the permanent superintendent search committee that is presumably gonna be almost immediately formed after we start the permanent superintendent search process, given that if we don't do it tonight, we would have to wait until November 5th. So is 2/3 of the board amenable?
Yes.
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 to that? Okay, so, does anybody not wanna be on the permanent superintendent search committee?
Simply don't want to, if it's a lot of Monday or Friday time. During working hours. It's difficult.
Yeah, I was gonna say the same thing. I don't need to be. If some other people are more fired up to do it, I can step back.
Can I make a statement?
Of course,
I think, with the permanent superintendent search, there absolutely should be a round or two where all board members are involved, where you have a
Yeah.
board meeting, an executive session, where you're interviewing the candidate.
and we did that, yeah, we did that
I
in
just wanna
your.
make sure that people know that
Yeah.
everybody will have a say.
So yes, to clarify, the reason that we're doing this right now is because we just went through this process with the same organization, the VSBA, for our interim search. And in that effort, we needed 3 board members to be present from the beginning of the process to get it even kicked off. And then as the search progresses, then it will come to back to the full board. But this is just to ensure that we can actually do something with the VSBA once we sign the contract with them. So, Emily, Dan, Michelle, do you have, interest in being on the board? I'm sorry, being on the search committee?
Yes, please.
Okay, so I think at this point, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people who are interested. Does anybody have any suggestions about how we pick from the 5 people who are interested on the search committee? I can do it randomly. You could make a pitch.
I would rather somebody else. I think you guys have more experience in this than having just done the search. I don't think I'm the best person to get it.
Okay, so we're
Given
down,
the experience that you guys have, having just gone through it.
so we're down to 4 people. Which is still 1 more than we can have. Any suggestions?
I'm available if I'm needed, if somebody else would like to do it, I'm happy to step back. Whichever.
Do
Oh.
a random. Shoot.
Shall I do a random selection? I'll do a random selection.
One thing I would suggest this time around is that I know both you and Ally had wanted to be on it before. I think it would be great if you both could participate this time around. Yeah.
Are we really gonna choose this committee like this? Is that what we're doing?
We're just
mean, I
picking the
just-
person who doesn't,
Yeah, okay, I just like the record to show I don't, know this, but okay.
so, Michelle, your name unfortunately was randomly picked as you got the odd person out. So, is the board comfortable with the 3 members to work with and also I did not include myself in this because I assumed I perhaps should not have done that the board chair should be on the superintendent search committee.
That was a
I
good
think it's a fair
assumption.
assumption.
Okay, so I randomly picked between Jen, Laura, and Michelle. And Michelle, it's, you unfortunately got picked as the person who wasn't gonna be on it. So is the board comfortable with Jen, Laura, and Seamus being on the permanent superintendent search committee? I will note that that is the same 3 people that did it last time.
Yes.
It's also the chair.
I'm fine with that. I'm
the
fine with that
chair
continuity.
and the Clerk, so. I feel like you guys
Okay,
already took on, said you would take on more, so this is it.
okay. I don't remember whether months ago we took an action on this, or just in case we're gonna take an action on it. So I would entertain a motion to name Jen, Laura, and Seamus to work with the permanent superintendent search process.
There's a hand up on.
Yeah, with
Yes.
discussion, so
That's
we're not
for
taking
discussion.
comment.
Well, but we amended to make it an action item. So it is, so public discussion
It's
is.
from way before.
Don't we move in first and then there's discussion?
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
Okay, because
I'll leave it.
I'd like to call for the orders of the day. We are approaching. All right.
So do I have a motion?
Motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Elizabeth, would you like to speak?
No.
Thank you.
Just mute
Thank
this.
you, Seamus.
Okay.
I just wondered if you had any idea of what kind of process would be needed with other than board members on that selection committee at this point.
I think not yet. I think that we probably can't scope that
And
tonight.
we should not be responding to the public, so that's something that we are gonna be working out. We're
Well,
not, it's
but
not a
in the-
give and take on public comment.
Right,
We have
I'm
to
not
follow our
I'm not responding to Elizabeth here. I think it is a consideration that we don't have. In the last superintendent search process, we decided as a board who was gonna be on the, so how many community members, how many staff members, how many administrators were gonna be on it. So what I might propose at this point is that we allow the motion to, we approve the motion. And then we make another motion just to, and for the avoidance of doubt, that we use the same committee composition that we did last time. Although we probably don't.
No.
Elaine.
No, Elaine's gonna be talking us through this.
Yeah.
That's why we're paying them the money. So no, with these decisions we should not be making tonight.
Yep.
Like that's,
Not tonight. Eventually you're gonna have to come up with a conversation, so maybe we put this for.
yes, when we
Can I finish? Maybe we put this to discuss at the next meeting.
That will be November 5th. So is the board okay with the committee forming before our next board meeting with a composition that is recommended by the VSBA?
Yes.
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 Okay, so I think that, what we should do is, first, we should approve the motion that's currently on the table, which is to name Jen, Laura, and Seamus to work with the permanent superintendent search process led by the VSBA. We've had discussion on it. All those in favor?
Hi.
Aye.
Okay. And then I think we should also, again, amend the agenda to, again, add an action item, just for the avoidance of doubt, that, the board, something along the lines of the board is gonna be okay with the committee composition that is recommended by the VSBA and agreed to by the other members of the committee.
Yeah, we're delegating you three to make those
Make
decisions.
the committee. decision.
Yeah,
Make those decisions.
with Elaine.
With
Yeah,
advice.
so all I want now is whether we're okay talking about that now. That's the general, so is 2/3 of the board okay with talking about that right now?
Yes.
Okay, so I would entertain a motion to allow the people named on the committee to decide the composition, the board members named in the committee just now, to decide the composition of the search committee, as recommended by the VSBA and in light of the urgency of, starting that process before November 5th.
Yes, with the caveat that when we did the interim search, we did talk about that in public. And that was where the composition of the search committee changed and it went from like 7 to 14. And so I think we definitely need to hear what Elaine has to say and we will bring that back and we will discuss it. But then I think we will need to, confirm and vote on that, like this is going to be our committee, because that's what we did before. And that's what I would suggest that we do. At this point, just to be efficient, we've got our committee, and I would say any next steps are going to be after we hear from Elaine what she recommends. I don't think we need that, my opinion, I don't think we need another motion to
I
go
agree.
further on
Okay,
this
so the
right
motion
now.
fails. I do want to
Yeah.
point out though that, so our next regular meeting is November 5th, so that's in more than 2 weeks. And, one of the first things that Elaine did with us last time was, create the committee And so if we tonight do not agree to take the recommendation that she provides, that means that the committee cannot start its work until at least November 5th.
Well, we couldn't start until at least November 5th anyway, because there's going to have to be community members and school people
Yeah.
and others that are gonna be on that committee. And we're not gonna be positioned
We won't be able to send out a survey until that.
until, exactly. So that's why I'm saying, let's
No,
just,
but I'm saying, if we take an action tonight to allow the composition to be formed like it was last time, we could send out a survey next week, but otherwise we have to wait.
I think it's premature. I say we wait until November 5th and let's just go November 5th. When we're in our next session, that's when we talk about it and we go forward.
Yeah, because the contract still needs to be
Yeah.
signed, then the
There's-
committee needs to meet
Yeah.
with Elaine, then she's going to give instructions.
And this needs to be held in public. And
Yeah.
this
Okay.
needs to be a public discussion. We can't be doing
Can't
that
just
stuff
do it.
off on the side.
So-
That's-
You
Yeah.
guys, meet with the VSBA.
Yeah.
How they feel the committee should be composed.
Yes.
Then, as Jen just stated, we need to have an open discussion with
Yeah.
the public.
Okay,
But you can put it for an action item on the November 5th.
okay, so on the November, so the motion fails. There was no motion to begin with. And on November 5th, we will talk about, forming the superintendent search committee.
Correct. That's correct.
All right, so. Any other comments on the discussion item that we've worked off from?
Well, I mean, I would just suggest add it onto add it onto the project management tracker, that we've got the superintendent, permanent superintendent search committee. And next steps that are gonna come out of that.
And there's definitely some of these that I think you've already
Yep.
followed up on
Talked
this.
about that.
So anyway, we'll do that up. I know which ones are done here.
And the only other thing that I would add to that project management tracker is I think that having a space on there for articles to the other paper is also good. And figuring out, if people have topics or things that they would like to be able to present, et cetera, just to kind of have that on our radar, that we are providing, output to the community, because not everybody from the community comes to board meetings or probably watches board meetings, but they may read the paper, might have a larger audience, and I think that's important. So I would just put that on the tracker as something that we're doing.
So I think we should add a discussion item at a future meeting that talks about what our approach is gonna be to other paper
That's
stuff.
fine. Yep.
So we've already done the interim superintendent's report. Earlier in the meeting, so at this point, we're at consent agenda. So the first item is to approve the minutes for October 1st. So I have a couple comments on the minutes, and so I recommend that the board, not approve the minutes yet. But let me work with Joe to add a few more details, and then we'll look at them again at a future board meeting. They have a problem with that. And then at this point, I would entertain a motion to approve the accounts payable AP orders. 1196, 1197, 1198, 1200, and 1201. Emily moves,
Second. Oh,
Dan seconds. So is there any discussion of these? Before we approve them? All right, all those in favor?
aye.
Hi.
Student,
Moment.
I'm saying,
So setting the agenda for the November 5th meeting, I'm gonna propose that we skip this and do this over email. That fine?
Except that we did have that superintendent search will be on.
Superintendent search will be on there, yes.
And you'll also have the project management and things like the other paper articles.
and hopefully you'll have some, preliminary budget, stuff from the finance office.
Okay, that's awesome.
And an update on the redistricting.
So we have approved the account payables. Were there any other Anything else that we needed to approve? Okay, so the next item on the agenda is a new item that was introduced with the new agenda. And it is a link to a board meeting evaluation survey that members of the public may click on and fill out.
Members of the public?
I thought it was members of the public that also do
No,
it.
board self-reflection is just for us.
It's for the
It's still
board.
for us to
Just for the
self-evaluate.
board.
And you do it
So-
after adjournment.
Yeah,
and
this-
it's anonymous.
This was not intended to, yeah, and this I think was an error on my behalf when we sent the draft template, because this was supposed to be like a discussion item. But it was something when Emily.
Wait, but we shouldn't talk about it. It's
Yeah.
not,
No, I mean, just, I'm giving context to it. When Emily and Laura and I participated in VSBA training, this was something that was shared as a best practice, that at the end of a meeting, you would have a board reflection. And so this was created, and the thought would be that at the conclusion of each meeting, the board members would have an opportunity to go through and kind of score themselves on their preparedness coming into the meeting, how efficient we worked through things. If we ventured into, operational topics, et cetera. So I would say that this may need a little bit of refinement and thinking about how we want to do it, that it adds value to our process and is not just, a layer. And then you could give yourself a scale on 1 to 10. So this is not like feedback from the community. This is feedback for the board to help drive continuous improvement for us.
Yeah, exactly. And it's to be done after adjournment and it's,
Right?
yeah, exactly.
So I think this needs a little bit more.
well, since we have it on the agenda, why don't I just pull it up so people can see it and then we won't fill it out. But for example,
David, should we be doing this in public format, or if this is if this is a board?
Well, we
facing
should-
Evaluation.
so part of it is there is actually a form. And we're not allowed to collaboratively edit things like forms, so I was just thinking maybe we should just all look at this as a board and say, oh, are we okay with? At the end of next meeting, filling this out, I think.
And it would be one person perhaps that would fill it out.
It
It
is-
wouldn't be
I was
everybody.
just gonna ask, is the expectation
Well-
that somebody fill it out after every meeting, or that everybody fill it out,
the
or
way
that
it is-
the as you want?
Oh, yeah. Laura.
Sorry, Laura.
It is to be completed. To be completed anonymously by all board members immediately upon adjournment.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
So
So the expectation.
that's the expectation.
It wasn't a collaborative thing. That's
No,
good to know.
no, it should not be collaborative and it's anonymous. And so
So let's just,
Good to know.
what's the word? Grit through this? Just-
Laura and Jennifer, are the results of this something that we discuss in the public, or is this a internal board facing where we can?
no, this is something I don't know, actually, so I'm not entirely comfortable, like, because I don't know. I don't know, but I don't know what you do, I think, it's board members are given. I don't know if the same thing, and have read, this is different.
Given an hybrid agenda, but
And
this is a different,
rapporteurs, so this is
Yeah.
board assessment,
And
so
so-
this is,
I'd go back and use something.
Like
more,
VSBA one.
yeah, VSBA one is what I would suggest, and let's just follow that process. And maybe it's the kind of thing that we shelf it until we do our policy governance module training.
yeah,
we
we
talk
talk
to people?
too.
That's excellent.
That's a really good sign.
And let's just find out, how do we do it instead of,
I'd rather do it right,
exactly.
yeah.
so at this point, we don't talk about how. Modeled this meeting was.
No,
Nobody fill out that
we
form.
can save that.
We made progress, we
You
voted
don't
on
need
a
to
lot.
be anonymous for that.
Sure,
You know,
yeah.
We can open it for discussion.
Put that right out there.
Okay.
Keep it in our parking
Still
lot.
think
So
about
to
it.
and part of our
clarify,
training.
so for members of the public, this agenda item was accidentally added to the end of the board meeting. Because we have been revising the agenda template, hopefully be more explanatory of what's going on at each section. And the conclusion the board just came to is that we are going to reevaluate the concept of these self-evaluations after we've had more policy governance training.
And
in
we
the
know how to
future.
properly, so.
Yeah.
One thing, just however you guys end up doing it, You might wanna like change the way to access it, 'cause I think anyone from the public can get it right now.
Yeah, we don't want that.
We don't wanna do that.
We don't want
You're
that.
right.
It would need to be something that we would have, and we would say this is information, but yeah.
It would be public information no matter what. The question is mostly
That
like
is a
who can
question,
actually
I think we have
admit.
the VSBA, right? That is a question that we need to
That's
ask.
a question.
I think the
for them.
VSBA needs to help us understand if this is
Yes.
internal facing only evaluation.
But there's no such thing as any material received or created by the board. If it doesn't fall under the exceptions, it's public, so this would.
I would love to explain that. Yeah, I'm, that is probably the case, but I would love to know that from them
I
before
would,
we
I would too.
unleash a survey out there.
Yeah.
I
would
agree.
too. I agree.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah,
If we're gonna start mudslinging, we.
That's right.
Anyway,
That's cool.
All right, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move.
Second.
Emily moves, Austin seconds. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
We're